This is an interesting one. And once again, we brought this one in more for a conversation than an actual statement. Defense in depth and layered security often used incorrectly, right? Interchangeably, because in my mind, defense in depth is more. Layered security could be a part of a defense in depth strategy. It's similar to like squares and rectangles, right? All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. I got it right. So the point is, there is overlap, and we want to make sure that we're designing the larger of the two, the most encompassing way to include the layered approach as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll get into what layered security means here.
Exactly, and really speaking to layered security, really involves security protocols at the system, network, and application layer, transmission level, et cetera. So what we're saying is it's the control-based approach. Often this is, for example, a good version of NIST 800-53. When you get into the controls side of things at the end of those, especially in Rev 5, 5.1, the most current version, you'll get into those controls in depth. Not all of them apply to public safety, but most of them do.
Yeah,
and it's really the intent.
And in a nutshell here, I think the slide has some good info, but it doesn't really call out the main difference, which is that layered security, generally speaking, means you're taking one part of defense in depth and piling up on that part. So you may have two different vendors for the same thing, two different firewall vendors. Maybe you have two different firewalls in the same network location, for example, or you might have two different monitoring companies watching the same traffic. So generally, when folks talk about layered security, they're talking about doubling or tripling up on one location.
Yeah, or even several, but not the whole thing. And that's interesting. Assumes a comprehensive strategy. It doesn't say it is the comprehensive strategy, right? When I would argue that that's more the defense in depth, is that comprehensive aspect of it. The other thing too is it doesn't consider a broad range of possibilities. It's not looking at all the what ifs, and so it really can, in some ways, create a false sense of security. And so really what we want to make sure is that we're using a multifaceted strategic plan, and that layered piece is part of it, right? It's a good part of it. And in my approach, you might have a layered strategy for each layer, right? in that defense in depth. And what we're trying to do is assume by definition that we are not going to get it perfect. And so therefore, we're going to look for solutions that encompass as many of those gaps, as finding all the different areas of risk and mitigate them in a comprehensive way. And it's hard to do. And the point is, it's really taking it to that and applying the controls in that layered approach as well, so they're overlapping as much as possible. And this allows us to protect ourselves against a broader range of attacks. We're looking at more the what ifs outside of what we know about today. What's going to happen tomorrow? What happens when they get quantum attacks, et cetera? We really need to look at that. So traditionally, in a layered approach, you can see here, this is a good one to start, right? It shows us discussing all the different aspects of a true defense in depth process. I like how they call it defense in depth layers. So they got both. And it really is a strategic way to look at each layer and how they fit into each other so that we really can carry it forward.